Hello, welcome to Lil's Vintage World. Today I have a book review for you of The Weather in the Streets by Rosamond Lehmann. This book was my second favourite book of the year 2019. I absolutely adored it. I thought it was incredible, and today I just want to do a review for you and talk about how amazing it was, because I think lots of you would really enjoy this book too. So, first of all, admin. Got two bits of admin for you about this book. If you want to get your hands on a copy, it'll be linked in the description bar below, as always. The other bit of admin was what lots of people were asking me back when I was doing my 2019 favourite books was, I've read that this book is a sequel. Do I need to read the first one? Yes, this book is a sequel. This book is a sequel to Invitation to the Waltz, obviously by the same author. I have not read it. I haven't read the first one. You don't need to read the first one. This book stands perfectly alone as it is. I think if this book wouldn't stand alone, as it kind of comes, Virago I don't think would have published it like this by itself. They haven't published Invitation to the Waltz, I don't think anyway, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, in this lovely 40th anniversary cover and all this. I don't think they would have republished it like this. I think they would have republished them both together, if that makes sense, if you needed to read them together, but you don't. I haven't read it. I would like to read it. That is definitely something that's on my to be read list, but it's not essential. So this book was written and published in the 1930s, and aesthetically wise it feels very much like that. We've got beautiful settings, this lovely language of the early part of the 20th century. It's beautifully written. Talks about the clothes and all the parties and all those types of things and where they go to and just general social life of the 1930s. Very much feels early part of the 20th century in Britain. But the topics that this book covers, actually, you could plonk into a modern novel and are in modern novels today, and you wouldn't notice a difference. It is perfection. It's way ahead of its time. It's just incredible. So this book is about a young woman called Olivia who meets in the first part of the book a man called Rollo. Now she already knows Rollo, but she kind of meets him again and they get talking, and part one is about them coming together again. So rekindling their friendship, relationship, whatever you call it. They're just people that know each other and they find each other again, I guess. And it's about them getting closer and closer and closer. Then we have part two, which is the affair itself. And in part two, we don't actually have any chapters, which I think is really interesting. It's just a big bulk load of text. And it's just the whole affair that's taking place. And then we continue the story with part three, which is the immediate after effects of the affair. And then the rest of the book is kind of after the affair and life after having an affair and kind of getting back to some sort of normality, if that makes sense. That's what this book is about. I adored the character of Olivia. Olivia is someone who I kind of found myself in her a bit. She's someone who wears her heart on her sleeve, and it can be quite sensitive. But I found that she's quite strong, and these little parts of me that I find a bit of a weakness, like I think wearing your heart on your sleeve, I find weakness in myself, but I find that a strength in other people. And yeah, I found that a strength in Olivia, and yeah, I loved her. I loved her. I thought she's really strong, and everything that she goes through, particularly in part three, I nearly cried at part three. My eyes were like watering. I didn't cry. I held it back, but I could have done. It's very emotional, part three, and it can be quite triggering. So just going with an open mind if you choose to read this book. But Olivia went through something that's very harrowing, and she comes out the other side with strength, and she's wonderful. The character of Rollo, so the man she has the affair with, I was very unsure of at the beginning, because you're like, oh, he's married, and you know, it's like, that's wrong. But then you realise, you know, what his marriage is like, and you feel a bit sorry for him, and it's like, oh, okay. And then when he's nice to Olivia, it's like, oh yeah, he's nice. But then when he's not so nice to Olivia, we're like, oh, I don't like him. And then by the end, I did think he was an absolute turd on a stick, to be honest. I absolutely hated him. But I think you're kind of meant to. I think he's one of those characters that you just meant to hate, and you should enjoy the reading experience of hating him. I did anyway. I thought he was an absolute poo on a stick by the end. I thought he was vile, and I loved it. To be honest, I really loved it. I thought it was great. So yeah, these two characters make the book, but Olivia herself is just perfection, and her little world and her little bubble. And I think the designer of this cover has done a really good job, because it's kind of to emulate what's going on. So we have the rain here, but then we have this couple under an umbrella, as if they don't really get the after effects of what's going on outside of them and outside their little bubble of the affair, which is very true of the story, and it was just incredible. If you ask me, oh Lil, what is your type of perfect sort of genre book, I would say female author, early part of the 20th century, preferably the 30s, because it's my favourite decade of the 20th century, sorry. I would like it with a strong female character, about relationships, sex, affairs, that type of thing. Chuck in good cocktail parties and fashionable events and stuff like that for good measure, and then you have my perfect book. And here we have it. Ta-da! Yeah, it's very much my atypical genre book that I love, and I just adored it. I thought it was great. So if you have similar reading taste to me and you like those types of things, then I think you'll really like this book. This book was everything I wanted. It made me laugh in places. It made me almost cry in places. As you know, I don't generally cry at books at all. I think I've cried in my life at a total of 2 books. I've cried at once at fiction, once at a non-fiction, and that is that. So I don't generally get touched by books, but if you're someone who cries at books, you probably would cry at this book. But it was wonderful and touching and funny, warm, witty, charming, all the good things that you want from a book. This has it in absolute spades. So yeah, I highly recommend it. I thought it was incredible, and hopefully I've persuaded you to pick it up. As I said, if you want to pick up a copy, it'll be linked in the description bar below. If it's on your wish list, let me know in the comments section. If you've read it, let me know in the comments section what you thought about it. I just love chatting to you. This is my favourite thing about YouTube, is chatting in the comments. So let's have a little conversation about the weather in the streets. Right, and that is it. That is my little review of the weather in the streets. I hope you enjoyed it. Take care, and I shall see you soon for the next one. Bye for now.